Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
Hi, it's Ed Cohen in San Diego, California. The sun is shining. It's a little after 9 a.m. today, and today is November 12th. The year is almost over, and can't wait for that. Let's get into Lucky 21. So this is Global TV. As you can see, the world keeps turning and our programs keep growing. And we thank the BridgeSchool and Verano to help us get there, amongst our other sponsors. Our very special guest today is JulieTaylor, the headmaster of the BridgeSchool.net, and Chase Eskelson, executive with Verano Education Partners, and Michael Piker. Michael Piker and I have known each other a number of years. He's recently retired from PMI International, Philip Morris International, based in Lausanne, and currently living in Amsterdam. And I invited Michael to give his perspective on the expat and the business of taking care of families, helping employees and their families be happy, be better, and productive. And a lot of that has to do with family security and continuity and new opportunities and capitalizing on the opportunity of being on expat assignment. And one of the big issues is education. How are the kids going to continue their learning with all the stress of disruption and separation from friends and families? We have experts with us. Let's welcome JulieTaylor. Hi.
Hi, Ed. Thanks so much for having me.
So please address that briefly, and then we're going to intro each other, and then we're going to show a quick video to honor the veterans and military families and the role of online education to help military family kids do their best. Julie?
Right. Well, to kind of answer your question in a short version, I think consistency is key for our students right now. And that involves many different areas of their life, whether it's their home life or their school life. And for their school, in the US here at least, school districts have been bouncing between in-person and fully virtual for the last few months. And it's been a tough transition on the students and trying to figure out, this week, will I be at an actual bricks and mortar school or will I be learning from home? And it's been really tough on the teachers too. And, Chase and I have been in online education each for about 20 years now. And for us in our school, having that online digital curriculum where students are getting that same education no matter where they're at has been a huge game changer for the students in not only the Bridge, but our partner schools as well.
Chase, when Julie talks about partner schools, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the Bridge School is a partner school of Verano Learning Partners. So I work for Verano, and we're an education nonprofit. And under our umbrella, we have many schools that have partnered with us. Some have partnered for the full school management and kind of true partnership. And others have taken, a piece here or a piece there, and they've partnered with us, whether it's for some kind of services or products, curriculum, things like that. And so Verano has multiple partner schools, some of which are full-time online, like the Bridge School, and then some are hybrid in nature. So we have our flagship is in just outside Phoenix, Arizona, where the students are truly blended. They go to the campus from 8 a.m. to noon, and then they work remotely from noon through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening, which has been fantastic. A lot of our students at the school go and get internships in the afternoons, or they get jobs in the afternoon. Some of them are athletes or performers, and they focus on their craft in the afternoon and kind of flex the rest of their learning time till late afternoon or early evening in some instances.
So this means that the curriculum could be early, and then there's some kind of break time, and then it's agreed that they get back together again, say at 4 o'clock and then there's break for dinner and family time, and then maybe an hour after dinner. Is that correct?
Kind of. So they have their in-person live instruction from 8 to 12. And then they have the kind of their more remote work, so one-on-one work by themselves. Sometimes the teachers schedule, remediation classes or small groups for the afternoons, but the majority of the afternoon evening is kind of work at your own time, at your own pace on the schoolwork that was started during the day and they finish. And Julie, if you want to maybe give a little bit of background on the flipped model that we run it across all of our schools, but it's probably more pronounced at our hybrid centers, but she can definitely speak to that very well.
Sure. So I'll put a little distinction here too. So the Bridge School, my school, is fully virtual. So we do have a few locations where we partner with schools across the nation, some international schools, where we're providing the curriculum and they're meeting at a site. However, by and large, my school is fully virtual, which gives students a lot of options. But with the partner schools that Chase was talking about, oftentimes they use a flipped model where when they are in person in the classroom, they're able to, one, work on some remediation. So if they're struggling in that online work that they've been doing, they can get into small groups with the teacher and get some one-on-one help or small group help. Or they can work on some projects that the teacher is, maybe it's a 2 or 3 week world view project. And so it's something that is supplemental to the actual digital curriculum that they've been working through. And so it allows students to have a focus on a particular topic or subject. And it can be maybe a week long that they're focusing in on that, or maybe it could be, 2 weeks long, or maybe it's a semester long project. So we have the flexibility to allow different types of learning for the students based upon their needs.
Interesting.
And I'll add one more thing, Ed. The important thing to know as we talk about digital schools and digital programs is that just because it is a digital education doesn't mean that a student is behind a computer for 8 hours a day. That's not healthy. That's not good for the student. It's not good for their social emotional well-being. It's not good for a whole host of things. And so we have built into our curriculum that just so happens to sit in a digital format. There are offline assignments. There are project-based learning tasks. There are social emotional differences. So there's a lot of things that happen not behind a computer, which is great to get kids moving, to get their fingers kind of getting dirty and digging into some of these science projects or whatever the situation might be. They still have to build out their poster boards for history class, for instance. They still have to do these things and then turn around and provide their oral report on it instead of standing in front of a class. Now that's where the digital piece comes in. They stand in front of their computer screen and they have their board and they walk them through. Here's all the things that I've done and here's my research topic. So very important distinction. Just because it's digital doesn't mean 100% of it is digital.
And now a word from our co-sponsors. Our programs wouldn't happen without the wonderful support of our advertisers. Here they are.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This episode of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The BridgeSchool, the accredited international online private school of choice at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Find them at porchlightrental.com.
CubeMonk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by Airs. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com. And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles. On the web at intlauto.com.
Hi Rob and Eva. I just want to say thank you guys to support me to purchase my new vehicle here in USA. And we are enjoying a lot this new vehicle, Mateo as well. Say hello Mateo to Rob and Eva. And thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.
As an expat moving to the USA, relocating is exciting, but it can also be stressful. Getting a car, truck, or SUV for personal transportation is usually a high priority. That's where International Auto Source comes in. We make getting the vehicle you want for your work assignment or academic program easy, so you're ready to drive when you arrive. Our product specialists have helped over 50,000 expatriates with their personal transportation needs, making us the largest international auto retailer in the world. International Auto Source gives you flexible payment options to buy, lease, or rent a vehicle from the world's leading auto brands, arrange financing on a purchase or lease without a U.S. credit history, social security number, or driving record, get full insurance coverage, and get approved easily through our low-rate factory-backed financing programs. And because we're an authorized distributor of the world's leading automotive brands, our no-haggle prices are competitive, and the buying experience is hassle-free. We'll even guarantee your new vehicle will be ready the day you arrive. With over 20 years of experience in the global community, we are the vehicle experts for expats. We are International Auto Source.
We seem to be talking about kids who are 8, 10 years old. I'm just guessing right now. What about younger kids who probably grow up with doing this on something, on a toy, but they're not at the maturity level responsible. So that therefore it's a different kind of instruction, isn't it?
It is. So I would say that students in grades kindergarten through about 4th or 5th grade, even though online schools have a teacher that assign them and work with them very closely and look at their work and they review their submissions, those younger grades still need to have some type of a parent or an adult, a learning coach, at home to help guide those little ones through their day. So the teacher is there and responsible for the education, making sure that the student is on track, giving, additional opportunities for learning, but there really does need to be a parent at home. And I think parents are understanding that this year more than ever, especially with COVID, trying to balance the needs of their different age students. Once students get into middle school and high school, they're really able to start taking ownership of their own learning, and the parent role kind of takes a step back, and they're still very important to be able to communicate with the teachers, but the students then can start managing their own workload a little bit more as they reach those middle school and high school grades.
Michael Piker, how does this all sound? I'm sure it sounds great, but I mean, from your experience as a senior rewards manager for a large corporation with expats all over the world, how does this sound? Is this unique, or have you heard this kind of thing before?
To some extent, I've heard. So even myself, I've studied in England at ACS, and I studied in Japan. But for my expats at my 6 public companies, including most recently with COVID, of course, is finding a global, if you will, flagship that can provide interdisciplinary education at all education levels consistently and globally, multilingual, and be internationally accredited. So some of our expats, as I'm sure Julie and Chase know, UK certification with A and O levels is very different from US curricula. And I lived in Asia many years, so the curricula in China and Japan is vastly different. So ACS is very famous, the consortium in the UK, as I'm sure, Ed, you know very well.
Yeah, IB.
IB, yeah, exactly. And I'm Chase and Julie, I'm sure you know them. But it tends to be location driven, location specific, through the expat network of who do you suggest, as opposed to having a diaspora globally where you bake the ocean with one flagship. It can't scale, and I haven't found, correct me if I'm wrong, Chase and Julie, a one provider niche wise that can deliver your blended learning consistently. Like I had, most recently we had expats in 70 countries, 2,000 expats, so massive program.
Yeah.
And most of the kids there with age range from 2 up to high school, and then straight into uni. I don't know your experience, Julie and Chase, with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that Chase and I say is that it's definitely not a one size fits all approach, and it would be very difficult to find a one-stop solution for every different parent out there, every different student, not even to mention across different country lines. And one of the things that is unique is that we do believe that we have an ability to solve the problems for a niche of those families, right? So for us, we know that when families relocate and travel abroad for job opportunities or schooling opportunities, whatever that might be, part of that moving experience often is that the families want their children to experience another culture. And part of that is putting them in the local schools. However, we also understand that for a subgroup of these families, they have turned down really great job and career opportunities because there has been a lack of schooling options where they're moving to. And so we understand that, and we think that one of the problems we can help solve is that education piece for those families, or the families that are on short-term assignment and they don't want to bounce their students in and out of different schools. So we provide that consistency for those families and a solid US-based diploma for those families that might want to have a US diploma that can then transfer on to US universities and colleges.
Well, Ed, that really goes to your original question around consistency. And we feel like this is a differentiator that we bring that a lot of the schools, Michael, that you mentioned, aren't able to provide, because if you have a family that moves frequently or knows that a move is coming up over the next year or so, entry into the Bridge School allows that student to have the same curriculum, the same teacher, the same student body, and they're able to make that transition but retain consistency from point A to point B, at least from their education perspective. And so that's one additional problem that we saw from the expat and mobile family community, that we can help address that a little bit.
So I want to, please, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, what's transpired, as all three of you know, is remote work assignments. So in the middle of the pandemic, companies increasingly are doing virtual assignments, work from anywhere, and digital passports. So I'm curious, at the end of this, hopefully this in the next 3 months, when we get hopefully the Pfizer vaccine or somebody, that assignments will happen again. But there has been quite a downturn in mobility because people are afraid to move health-wise. And
I
so
heard
they've
it was
done
over
virtual.
80%. Over 80%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you observed that in the education side, that how do you virtually prefer an education immersive experience virtually? Curious your view on that.
Julie.
Yeah, absolutely. I was seeing if Chase wanted to jump in, but absolutely. So I think right now, one of the things that Chase and I have been focusing in on is that there are schools around the nation. Well, there's two things. So let me back up. So we know that some families have chosen a school based on where they thought they were going to be today. And maybe they could never return to that country, or they've been, kind of in limbo. And so they've already put down a deposit, and they're looking at how they can make this work for the rest of the year. And that's where, at an affordable price point, we can come in and kind of be that bridge throughout this pandemic experience until, pun intended, bridge, throughout this pandemic experience, allowing them to still get a seamless education until they're able to kind of resume that normalcy that we're all hoping for. The other thing that Chase and I have been working on is to work with existing schools and existing schools that are out there that are struggling to figure out how to move into this distance learning. And I will tell you that some schools have done it better than other schools. Some schools have been, quite frankly, horrific in how they've implemented the distance learning. And some schools have kind of started figuring it out and how they can engage students. There's school districts that have, 90% of their students failing courses right now. And that's just horrific. And it's not even, some of them just aren't showing up to Zoom. And, so it's a scary thing right now in what's happening in the world of education. So Chase and I are looking at what school partnerships can we come together with and help to use some of our background in education and the knowledge of distance learning to help them be successful. We're really all in this together.
Speaking about partnerships, let's show this 45-second video about military, this being Veterans Day related. Yesterday in San Diego, here being a Navy town, it was a big deal. The Navy put on a big display of air and sea rescue, and people from the yacht clubs brought their boats out. It was a beautiful day, and sailing around the big aircraft carriers in the harbor, and the planes flying over, and the Navy SEALs skydove wearing flags coming in, and they landed right on the deck. It was quite a show. So Paul, let's show this quick, nice video narrated by Julie about military.
The Bridge School is a great option for military families. Oftentimes, military families are stuck with very limited options for their students. The Bridge School offers a seamless transition as families move from base to base. Families that enroll in the Bridge School are able to maintain their same teachers. They're able to maintain the same curriculum. They're not feeling disjointed as they switch and they move across the globe.
Okay, so Chase, do you want to do a deep dive a little bit on that?
Yeah, I will say Verano Learning Partners, as an education 501c3, we are so proud to partner with several different entities supporting our military and our troops. We partnered with the SEAL Future Foundation earlier this year, and they are another nonprofit organization that supports SEALs, leaving the SEAL teams and transitioning into civilian life. And so we support all of the education efforts from SEAL Team 6, or SEAL Team last day to first day in your new career. And we've just been so proud to partner with them over the last roughly about a year now. And then recently we also partnered with the American Veterans Center, which is a veteran center that focuses on supporting the World War II vets, telling their stories, not letting those things, even as that generation is passing, we're not letting those stories die with them, and continuing to prove the greatness of the greatest generation. So that is coming up next weekend, I believe, and we were so happy. Ed, I'll have to get you a copy of the video that we put together with them, and it's really, really great. So we are proud. We're a military veteran started nonprofit, and soft spot in our hearts for all of our veterans around the world.
So in ancient history, last century, I was a medic in the Army during the Vietnam era, but we were stateside. We were in a thoracic surgical unit, and I was a nobody, but the doctors from Harvard Medical School trained me in how to prepare a sterile tray, so I was essentially trained as an OR nurse. And if we had been sent over to Vietnam, we would have been in the field in a MASH type unit, but luck would have it.
Well, thank you for your service, Ed. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, you bet. So, so Joanne in their travel industry, they're extreme supporters for years to the SOS, and the San Diego airport has a beautiful new facility there, and they're always bringing toys and stuff to give out. Anyway, that's a nice video, Julie, and very, very worthwhile, because a lot of people don't understand anything about what the military families go through. Yes. You know, so not everybody is a graduate of the of West Point or Annapolis, and the families keep growing. So there's always a need, because they keep rotating these people around the world, and schooling whoever thinks about it, except people like you guys. So it's important. So it's relevant to the corporate side, of course. So Julie, in a conversation perhaps you could have with Michael Piker to tap into his deep experience over the years of dealing with executives, multinational people who have different needs and different backgrounds and different ways of looking at taking care of education needs, oftentimes from more socialistic countries, and everything's expected because it comes out of the tax rate. Michael, what's your experience? I don't even know how to phrase this, but if you could do a little deep dive on your experience in general, maybe cite one or two examples for Chase and Julie to comment on about how, let's just say PMI, in their benevolence, took care of employees and their families with respect to the education issue.
Yeah, very benevolent employer. So, for example, there were 600 inbound expats into Lausanne, Switzerland. So Swiss has a crèche system, which is a French social system. You have to apply, and we had slots. Most normally, as I'm sure Julie and Chase know, and I know you know, Ed, in the corporate world, and I've worked in 6 very large companies, you buy slots at a particular place to ensure that your expats will come. So in Lausanne, there's 3 prominent, for example, famous international schools. And we sit on the board, we endow the institution, and we then ensure that the children get in. And then that's a clincher for them to take the assignment.
Mhm.
So the full suite, tuition, room, board, even benevolent for school trips, overseas study, which is pretty much out of the norm of large companies. Bilingual education, opt for IB versus US curricula, which is also quite unique. Most companies ordain one or the other, but not both. The fees, there's no cap. So, and I know you know this very well, these schools can range as much as a US college. You know, I went to Dickinson in Pennsylvania, and that's 50 grand a year. These schools are 40 to 50 grand a year. And so some of my peers at Novartis, UBS, CAP, PMI did not. And then if you look at harder assignments, let's say into Tokyo, into Beijing, into Moscow, we would permit basically children to go to a school of their choosing in another country. And that's also quite unique. Not a lot of companies do that. So if the curricula, the reputation, the brand were more solid, let's say in Dubai versus Moscow, then the spouse might be permitted to have the child in that location while, let's say, the other spouse is on assignment.
Mhm.
That is pretty rare.
Is it your experience though, Michael? What I have been hearing is that a lot of corporations are actually cutting the benefits for education because of
Yes.
COVID, and that's been one of the chopping block items.
Unfortunately, I had to say yes. If I look across my intelligence, what gets hit first is home leave, education capping,
Mhm.
and stopping assignments.
Mhm.
And more often than not, for most companies today, it's permanent transfers and not expatriate assignments in general are shrinking, and permanent assignments are exploding.
Mm.
So when you say permanent, what does that mean?
Yeah, so basically you go from country A to country B, they throw you a bunch of money, one off, and then put you on local wage, and you're off running on your own. So the
So that means that
education,
you're still an employee of the company, but you're not going to
yeah,
be moved by them.
you're employee of the host country, but you're not sent on assignment from somewhere to somewhere. You become a local employee. And the implication there, as we all know, is the schooling fees. Normally, they give you a lump sum of cash, and then you have to avail of how you spend that because it's a fixed cost over multiple years.
Mhm.
So that's why your approach is more cost prudent. It's more virtuous and more timely and more digital. So I think the offer is quite smart as an alternative to the traditional model.
Yeah, one of the things that we really love and we've found is that, you know, we've worked with a number of HR recruiters for international locations or relocations. And, you know, one of the things that they seem to really love and the families seem to love is that we have this flex time built into our model. So our school is an open enrollment and students can enroll at any point in the year. So they don't have to follow the traditional US semester schedule. And so what happens then is this was actually developed because we have a number of performing students in the Houston Ballet. And when they would hit the Nutcracker season, so it was the peak of their year, when they would hit that season, they would be spending 60 to 80 hours at the studio. And so at that time, they really couldn't focus on schoolwork. And so what we developed was this flex time where once a semester, students can take 2 to 3 week pause on their learning to focus in on what they need to focus in on. And so what we've done then is transfer that from the ballet world into the mobile family world. So if we have a family that is in transition and they need to settle down in their new country, they can take a pause in their curriculum studies. Or if they have a spouse, like you were saying, where they might be living in 2 different locations and the working parent is a fly in, fly out family, the students can pause their schooling while they're together as a family unit. So they don't have to worry about if they're falling behind in their work. So those are a couple of the things that the HR folks that we've been working with have really enjoyed and been able to promote to their recruiters.
Chase, I see in your website that one of your schools is about coding, CODING. So is this a one-off, or are you offering this now in BridgeSchool.net and some of the other opportunities?
Yeah, so one of the things that we, Verano, like to do is find unique partnerships that meet specific needs. And those needs look different for each of our partner schools. We don't believe in cookie cutter approach. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that they have 10 schools and they're all 10 stamped out of the exact same cloth. We just don't think that's the right way to do it. So the school that we have in Goodyear, Arizona, one of the things that the parents really, really wanted for their kids was access to a great coding curriculum. And so we actually purchased a franchise of iCode, we built 2 buildings on the plot of land. The first building was for Valor Preparatory Academy, and the second plot we built and the building was for iCode. And iCode has been incredibly beneficial for the students and families in the West Valley of the greater Phoenix area. They do have full-time online courses as well, but the majority of the things that they do are in person, very hands-on. It's actually a really unique opportunity that they have built into learning how to code. Their whole thing, and I sat down with the CEO last week, and he said, hey, you know, anybody can teach somebody to code on a computer. We're not interested in doing that. We want to take these kids and teach them, A, how to code, and B, how to be beneficial to future employers. So they have built into the curriculum all of these soft skills. They're teaching them project management, conflict resolution, teamwork, and all the things that, you know, they just kind of get thrown out the window, especially in a digital format in so many instances, because they're just going to teach you the information that you need, not the skills to take that information and put it to use in an applicable environment. So it's really a great program.
So Valor Prep, is that a stepping stone to Bridge School?
No, that is a unique local hybrid that is a charter school in the state of Arizona. And we had a local charter board come to us and asked if we would help them launch a hybrid program. And that's exactly what we did. We partnered with them and made it happen. That school is a little different from the Bridge School. So they are grades 6 through 10 this year, next year adding grade 11, the year after adding grade 12. But it's always going to be that middle school and high school only, versus the Bridge School, which is pretty much all online and kindergarten through 12th grade.
So part of your curriculum, Chase and Julie, is it, let me say, advanced? Not a kumbaya kind of a thing, but do you teach, in addition to important stuff, do you teach sports or understanding different cultures, or looking at a picture like this picture on the wall and say, no, what does that mean to you? And how, you know, you have a discussion.
Yeah, you know, interestingly, Ed, we met Nana on your show, and we have a meeting to kind of talk with her about instituting some of her stuff across some of our programs potentially in the future. Yeah. But we have built in social emotional learning, and it's built in an object repository so that one of 2 things can happen. The students can go and find these SEL, social emotional learning, objects, and they can say, I need help with this, and click on that, and it'll teach them, time management. It may teach them some form of another conflict resolution and how to kind of deal with some of the issues that they face. The other way that we can apply those learning objects to a student is from the teacher perspective. They can say, oh, little Johnny, he really needs help with X, and he can assign that piece of the course to little Johnny. But they go over all the same things that you were just mentioning and much more. It's nationally, what's the right word, Julie? When our team built out, they took the nationally accredited standards and built them out so that they can be used across multiple states and around the world. And that will be implemented in all of our partner schools. So the Bridge School will get it, Valor of Arizona will get it. And that's just a core foundation of who we are and what we believe is important for students is, yes, we can give you book knowledge, but we have to make you beneficial to society and college and career ready, not just from an academic perspective, but from a how do I deal with the world around me perspective as well.
So just as an aside, the topic is special needs, Julie. When I was much younger in high school, I stuttered. And so doing this talk show is like my redemption and my therapy. But going back then, they knew that I was testing high, but I was afraid to talk because all the girls would laugh at me and I didn't want that. So because I couldn't get the words out, right? So they put me into a remedial training. This shrink actually was a football coach, big burly guy, and he took little Eddie into the room and said, okay, read that newspaper. What do you like? Movies, politics, sports, baseball? Oh, I love baseball. So we read the sports pages. And you know what? He got me to stop stuttering within like 60 days. And then I transferred back into, I don't know what it was, some kind of mental thing, I guess. But do you have special needs situations like that? You must, but I wanted to just ask.
Yeah, so what's great about online learning is that some of the embarrassment, like you talked about, or the fears that students have in bricks and mortar schools, they're able to overcome those and they're able to learn without those boundaries or stigmas attached. We do have a wide variety, and with our school, we're able to allow students to actually move at their own pace. So if they are only able to tackle, maybe 2 courses at a time, we'll allow them to focus their attention on 2 courses instead of the full load of 6 courses, and we'll move through that at their timetable. A lot of times schools around the nation, so this is not just the Bridge School, but virtual schools around the nation have been able to figure out how to do some of those therapies through online means. So there are different ways to provide those speech therapies and different types of, occupational therapies delivered through Zoom. So students can still get those needs met, even if they're not meeting at a physical location.
And can I add in, Ed, one of the things, and I don't think on your show I've ever got fired up, but if there's ever a thing to have righteous indignation about, it's about how students in the emergency distance learning that we're seeing all across the world today, how the special needs students are being treated, or rather completely forgotten, is abhorrent. I mean, this is something that I just get so fired up about because we come from the digital education space and we know that these students can be served and be served appropriately and be served properly and have both the student and the parent happy with the amount of support services that can be offered. And so many district schools that have just decided to go virtual this year are completely destroying these kids' lives because they're not serving them appropriately, and they're not serving them in a way that will help them long term. And that is something that I think just needs to be shouted from the rooftops, that we've got to figure this out. It can be done. It can be done right. We've got schools that are doing it, and the success rate and parent satisfaction through the roof. But you don't hear those stories from the local schools right now,
Yeah. So what about people who are different color or language or orientation, all of it. Are you, is that a special needs situation or just an integration kind of a thing?
Well, no, I don't know that that's a special needs situation, but I think that it is, um, it's more of a stigma, right? So I know that within our population, we do have a number of LGBT students. And one of the things that they have chosen us for is because of bad experiences at their local school. And it's been tough. So they wanted to get away from that, and their parents wanted them to get away from that. And so that has been a way that they have been able to get away from that negative experience at their local school and be able to be successful in their schooling. Additionally, we're talking about the special needs side of education, but we also offer the other side, the advanced courses. So we offer the honors and the AP level courses that students are able to take if they're wanting to graduate early, or make sure that they are set up for success at their colleges and universities. And we've had, students go on to different University of California, University of Texas, North Carolina, Chapel Hill for sports. So, some very large colleges and universities. So they have been set up for success in the school that they've done here and the schooling that we offer as well.
Michael.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting sort of angles there. I mean, I was coming out. I was gay. I was 13, living in London and at an expat school, and class bullying is tough, to Ed's point. So when you're in an immersive experience as opposed to a virtual experience, it's a different play, as we know. But the opportunity, one might surmise, might be more elongated because you're not surrounded by fractious climate. You may actually have a more supportive climate. And then your point on the AP and the honors it's an angle which I really like. We have that notion in the States, whereas in Europe and Asia, as you know, with the testing obsession, the AP honor is by default. So every parent in China and Korea and Japan will want that kid to be an AP by default. So and then the angle you talked about coding, my last company, we worked with a company called Code Academy. So the ability for you to elongate blended learning through EduTech, I'm sure you're exploring that, is just phenomenal. Where you can leverage consortium blended learning with learning management solution platforms for kids is probably growing in your world exponentially. And then your preamble about military families. I don't know if you saw the new HBO, We Are Who We Are. It's been out 8 episodes. Military family, lesbian mother, really interesting kid living in Venice, Italy. And they bopped around the world. And the kid was always complaining about every 2 years, I need a new professor, a new teacher, new classmate. So, your preamble to talk about that opportunity is massive. One other piece you might consider, because we talked about corporate and military, is NGOs. I worked with Ford Foundation, the UN, as you know, those are massive. So if you think about that as a commercial opportunity to get into that world, they run their own education platforms, hard brick and mortar. But I think they would be perceptive and also, interested in knowing what you're doing in this space. Have you approached them to consider?
We have not approached them yet, but we would be very open to doing that.
Okay.
Did you have an opportunity to talk with Yvonne from World Bank Family Network, Julie?
Yvonne's very good. She's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, I'll be glad to connect you with her. She's been on the program in the past.
I have not connected with her, but Chase might have.
We swapped a few emails, but we haven't had a chance to connect I say almost said in person, but via Zoom or anything yet.
Yeah.
Ed, if you could make that connection, that'd be great.
I'll do that today.
Yeah, she's writing a book. I was interviewed for it. There's an angle in there that would play into your area. So it would, yeah, definitely connect.
Cool. I'm glad that you and she are connected. That's great. Well, this has really been fun for me. Thank you, Michael Piker, for doing this. Your perspective was needed, and now we got it. So it's a home run. Chase, do you want to sum up and talk about what's coming next?
Yeah, we, again, Ed, thank you so much for having us, and we've just had a ton of fun doing these things as well. If you didn't have a chance yet, those of you watching, we did another education show last week, and we've got a couple more coming up over the next few weeks, Thursdays from the foreseeable future, and then you'll be able to see them, I don't know what the right word is, archived or, you know, whatever, but yeah, we've got some really interesting things about understanding. On demand, thank you. Yeah. But we've got some really great topics coming up around some of the academics of online learning, and we're going to be talking about some of the partnerships that we've got in place. We didn't really dig into that at all. We a little bit with iCode, but the partnerships that we have in international locations and partnering with some companies and nonprofits and things like that as we move forward. So really looking forward to it.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I have a program coming up, several programs. Between now and the end of the year, I'm going to be producing 25 broadcasts, and I know it's a good thing to do. Now that I think about it, I go, oh my God. But so one of them is, I'm calling it the series Bound For, Bound for Brazil. All right. So that's coming up on December 14 at 10 a.m. Pacific, which will be 3 p.m. in Rio. All right. And we have an interesting cast of characters coming together, and we're still building that. Are you connected to schools in Brazil?
So not in Brazil. We're not connected with a school in Brazil. I think we have had a couple of students in Brazil in the past. Our biggest partnership right now is actually in Honduras with a school that is local there in the island of Roatan. And the students who actually attend that school are able to get a dual diploma, so both a Honduras diploma and a US-based diploma. And so we are looking for additional schools to partner up with to be able to provide those dual diploma opportunities.
So on, I have to look at my notes as to what day it is, but we have Dr. Natalie Forrest. Sorry, yeah, Forrest. And she's joining us in a mental health orientation of working from home and all the stresses connected with that. So I'll put out a notice about that. We're also on November 19 putting on Bound for Nordic. In other words, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland, and Moscow even. So we have people coming together to talk about the Nordic Christmas time. And of course, most of these people are related through the international mobility business. So that would be a very interesting time. And if you need introductions to these people for that region, I'm very happy, of course, to do that. So we just did Bound for Italy, and that was a good show. And also coming up by the end of the year, we'll have a meeting with people from Greece and India and Dubai, or as they say, Dubai, and also Tel Aviv, and we're looking at Saudi as well, bringing people together in one program, okay, for a interfaith or intergalactic kind of conversation. And that could be really interesting. Michael, I think you'd be terrific on that program if you looking for things to
I'll
do
check it
one
out.
day. And certainly, I thank you again for this opportunity to talk with you. Your input was fabulous. Thank you, Chase. Julie, it's wonderful.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Okay, let's sign off. Global TV. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.